Marketer of the Day, episode 611, Clarity, Focus, and Action. Discover your true potential and implement your aligned life roadmap with River Easter.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We're here with River Easter, and River is a catalyst to help you discover the genius inside you. And she's more than your average life coach because her vast toolbox includes more than 25 years of neuroscience, of smartcuts, and paradigm-busting processes. And she has a master's in organization development, and she's a certified life mastery consultant. So her genius is part alchemy, part science, and part consciousness hacking. And we're going to find out all about River's inspiring workshops and her transformational high-touch coaching programs. And we're going to help you survive and go from surviving to thriving with ease. So River, glad to be talking to you.
Thank you, Robert. I'm so glad to be here and, supporting your community.
Awesome. Well, we're glad to have you here. And for everyone listening, you can claim River's free gift at youralignedliferoadmap.com. And you can find out about River at rivereaster.com. And so we introduced you a little bit here, but can you kind of tell us, what makes you unique and what sort of problems we're going to be solving for people today?
Great. Would love to. One of the things that I would say is that pretty much my entire life, I have been interested in how can we be the best people that we know deep down inside that we are. And so it's like the human potential. I've studied it my entire life. And I got to the point where it's like I knew a lot and I have a lot of training and education. I have a master's in organization development, and that is all about how to transform organizations to creating environments that really thrive both on a technical and a social level. And I just got to this point where I had an awareness of some of the patterns that I was stuck in. Say for example, I would be in a relationship, and then I just didn't think that relationship was working out. Move to another one, and you're in the same relationship, but it's just the same. It's different people. Or different, maybe it's a job. You end up in you try another job, but you're still unhappy and feel stuck. And so I could see that I had these, thoughts going around. I would have these, they're called paradigms, your mental models, how you see the world, like life is hard and then you die. And you have to struggle to really make money, all of these different things that go around. I'm not good enough. And I really could see how I was getting stuck there, but I didn't know how to actually make a difference. So I was at that point, like I can't figure it out. I know all this stuff. I have all this incredible training, but how do I apply it to actually transform my own life so I'm not getting stuck in these patterns over and over again? Does that sound, can you relate to that?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And I think that we can all relate to playing the if only game, right? Of saying, I'm in this job that I don't like. If only I got this new job. And then you do all this work to take the leap, take the risk and quit the job, go to a new job, move to a new city. And then you take you with you and you realize nothing's changed. You're in that relationship and you say, if only I was out of this relationship in a better one. You do all that work just to land in the same place. And it seems like a scary place to be, especially if we've been stuck in this cycle for months or years. If we keep spinning our wheels, we keep trying and everything just seems like we have the same old problems. Same stuff, different day. So is there an easy way out of it? Is there an easy place that it begins? Does it begin with self-awareness? Or how the heck do we escape this endless cycle, this nightmare?
Yeah, the old wherever you go, there you are. That's what I totally get it. Yes, this is the good news. The good news is that it's an inside out world. And so we've been trained. So there's no naughty or nice here, no judgment. That's a big thing. No judgment. We have been trained to try to manipulate our circumstances or control our lives in some way so that we have that, well, if only this out here changes, then I'll be ready and then I'll be happy. But it's actually completely opposite. We start within ourselves. And I know that one of the mistakes that people make is what I would call the squirrel syndrome. And it's really, all of us have heard of the squirrel syndrome, right? It's like lack of focus, follow through. You get caught up with all these new shining objects that come your way, and you just jump from one thing to the next, and it's really this lack of focus. And that's one of the places where I start, is we have to learn how to focus.
Easier said than done, right? I think we've all maybe heard that at one point or another, or told that to ourselves and said, I need to focus. I need to only do a few things. I need to not be putting out all the fires, switching all the gears. So how the heck do we get that focus?
Good question. And I really want to say here that there's actually a system. And once I was introduced to the system of how to actually get results and how to really transform that pattern that I was in, that it completely shifted everything for me. So there is a system, and I'm just going to kind of give the overview of it. It's like really clarity, focus, and action. Those are sort of the broad pieces of it. And I'm going to be showing you some of these things here. But when we go into like the squirrel syndrome, sort of the underlying reason we get squirrel syndrome, one, our world is designed to distract us. I mean, just everything that's out there. But the other one is that it's sort of a way of procrastinating. And procrastination is a temporary relief of an inner fear that we have. And these unconscious fears produce anxiety. And, the thoughts that you have create chemical responses in your body. And so neuroscience links your thoughts with actual physical changes in your brain. So if you're constantly sort of stressed and have worry, self-doubt, am I going to be able to do this? It actually will change your brain over time, and it produces, all these things in your body. And so really paying attention to what your thoughts are and being mindful is important. So, instead of using your thoughts to terrorize you, it's you want to be able to rewire these reactionary emotional loops that you get into, and use and start switching or pivoting your thoughts. And an easy way to pivot your thoughts is to go to some gratitude. You notice yourself worrying, think about gratitude. And I know it sounds maybe trite, but it's big. It's really big. You just try it for a while. Try just pivoting, okay, I'm really worried. Well, what could I think about instead of worrying? Because worrying doesn't get you anywhere except for more stress.
Well, you're making a lot of sense here. And this concept of being caught in the loop is really clear to me, in that we get distracted all the time. We get used to worrying, which leads to anxiety, which leads to more worrying. And then we get to that point where we wonder when we were ever relaxed, when we were ever actually happy. So you say that the first step is to be aware of these thoughts, to, instead of it being a big blur, a big cloud, we actually dissect a few things and we think about and we pay attention to those thoughts and those words that we're thinking, so that way we can attack a smaller problem. And then you're saying that if we worry, then the focus should then be on gratitude. So do you have an interesting story or scenario about that? Is there a time or an example that you can explain to us here of when you were worried and what you were thinking, and then how you then pivoted that to gratitude?
Oh, so many. I mean, I've been doing this a long time now that I discovered, how to do it. And I think I'd like to focus on somebody that I worked with recently. And their thing was that they were always regretting a decision that they made. So it's just like, oh, I made the wrong decision. Oh, that was the wrong thing to do. And they realized that they were in, essentially, no matter what decision they made, it became a regret. And so it took a little while to get here for them, because you spent years developing essentially a neurological pathway, and it's just automatic. We have like 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of them we've thought before. And because our brain is designed to save energy, because it takes a lot of energy to think, and so what it does is these become automatic responses. So really good recap to become mindful. And mindfulness is really awareness of your thoughts and feelings without judgment. That's a huge one, without judgment. And so, that was the first step. Then the second step was just noticing where she was going down this, regret train. I like to call it a train. You get on the train, you don't even really realize you're on it, because it's just so automatic. And then being able to bring in that mindfulness and notice, like, wow, look what I'm doing. Look what I'm doing no matter what. And then it's actually a simple process, but I wouldn't say it's easy. It's like, I call it, where the transformational rubber hits the road, is unpacking these reactionary emotional loops. So I helped her unpack it and see that it was, that she had some things about what, regret, and then she could actually choose a different thought in that moment. And so that's when she chose a different thought instead of going down this regret train. And it was a huge, this was about spending a ton of money on a property. And so it wasn't like a small one, right? So the stress level was very high. And but she was able to focus on what her vision was. Why she had done it, what she would love about it, and to trust that her original decision, the intuition that she was following, was the right one. I can say that all of this totally worked out because she's in such a great financial place. But it was, just the fear that she was going to be homeless, and, she couldn't really trust herself. So, and I say we start small. I'm giving you a story but I'd been working with her for a while. Usually want to start small and then move up from there. So just practice noticing, wow, look what I'm thinking, and do it without judgment. And then pivoting to something that is more aligned with your vision for yourself, more aligned with, the truth about you. Does that make sense?
It does. So we need to start small and begin to notice our thoughts. And I love what you said there about how we have those 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of those thoughts are things that we've thought before. So from now on, or maybe at least these next few days, I'm going to be really aware of those things that I'm thinking, and I'm going to be asking myself, well, have I thought that before? And has that thought helped me? And has that, I mean, that those thoughts have led me to where I'm at now, but maybe in a way they've also trapped me in this kind of just the cycle again. So what we need to do is, if we have those thoughts that aren't serving us, or those things that are just really pulling us down, then we need to choose a different thought and unpack those things, and ask ourselves, well, is this really that bad, or what's the bigger picture? Or if I have assigned this meaning to this, if I'm on that regret train, or if this means I'm a failure or a bad person, is that really true? Or have I just arbitrarily put a label on that? And maybe what would things be like if I didn't think that? And so as you're so we need to be changing our thinking. But so one thing I'm specifically curious about is how this applies to us business owners, because a lot of us business owners, we're wearing all these hats, we have a lot of things to keep track of, and it seems like there's more stress and there's more fear as a business owner than a 9-to-5 employee, right? Your 9-to-5 employee, if you mess up with your job, what's the worst thing that can happen? You lose your job, you get another one. But if we lose our whole business, if we lose our life's work or our lifelong dream, that seems to be a lot of stress and a lot that's at stake. So why the heck is it so difficult for us business owners? Why do we make things so hard on ourselves, and what do we do?
That is a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. And I love your recap. Really good listening skills, dude.
Awesome. Thank you.
So one of the things that I would say with business owners is that we get caught up in the squirrel syndrome. So we kind of jump from this looks good, this looks good. It's like, actually, I'm going to back up a little bit. Is that one of the things I wanted to say is when you're start to practice, noticing what your thoughts are, noticing how you're feeling. One of the things is, are you having these thoughts that are really low vibrational thoughts, like fear, worry, self-doubt? These things, or anger, frustration. And this is something that is very common with business owners. I've done a lot of research on these topics. And so procrastination is a huge one, because mainly they have some inner fear, why they're not making those phone calls, why they aren't out there doing the things that are really the needle movers on their business. And, it could be fear of rejection. It could be fear of performance, like they're not really good enough. It could be fear around failure, or what if I am too successful? Am I going to lose my freedom? So so you say an easy way is to say, am I suffering? Am I in the state of suffering? And then if I'm in the state of suffering, how can I move to a more state of expanded or, possibility? And that's where I say it's, gratitude's kind of an easy pivot to get there. The other is that we get into what I would call the hamster wheel, right? We're just running around in circles. And I don't know about you, but being in business, it's like, it's easy because there's all these things that you could be doing that would be better, right? Well, do this, do that. And then pretty soon you're just like all over the board and you're just going round and round. And so and then the other mistake, the number one mistake that business owners do is that they have a lack of clarity and commitment. So it's the operational definition for that is failure to make up your mind, a lack of clarity and desire, leaving room for backing out at the last minute. 1 foot in and 1 foot out. They haven't quite made their decision. And so because they don't have clear goals, they don't have a 3-year goal. They're not, breaking it down to a year goal, to a 6-month goal. And so there's really kind of this lack of clarity. And then the lack of commitment adds to it. And that's where I have developed the roadmap. It's a simple process. It's a framework that you go through and you figure out what it is that you would love to do. And I actually have a process on it so you can follow the process. And you start with a 3-year goal and just ask yourself, what would I love? And just don't be afraid to, start small. Some people are really like, well, I can't have that. Their limiting beliefs come up about it. Of course, you can always call me. I have an incredible breakthrough session that helps you get super clear, and also you discover these, uncover hidden challenges, and then come up with an action plan. You can do a vision board. Be your own counsel, listening to your intuition, and then really develop a plan of action and stick to it. That is probably the number one thing. Get your goals down. Make a commitment to do it no matter what, because your fears are going to come up. You're going to procrastinate. You're going to try to talk yourself out of it. And, or if you don't, you'll delay it. Or have you ever done that before, Robert?
Oh yeah, all the time. We all have.
Yes. And so you can, it's really one is to get really clear about what it is that you would love, and then to develop a plan of action, and then really get support, because it takes like 220 days to actually rewire a neural pathway. And that's what you're doing, is like rewiring your brain from these old patterns to new ones that are in harmony with you. And it is an inside out world. People say, well, it's because I don't have this or I don't have that. And again, that's like that, when I have that, then it's all going to be better. But you can actually start right now. Changing your world.
Well, this is fantastic, and you've given us a lot to chew on here. So, first of all, what I'm getting from you is that we need to make up our mind that if we're stuck, if we're blocked, we need to not have one foot over here and one foot over there, to actually make a decision and then go all in. And to help us make that decision and help us follow through on things, we need to have those clear goals. And if those pesky, nasty, limiting beliefs are stopping us from being clear with our goals, or if we keep on being negative, then the solution you're telling us is to start small, so that way it's doable, because it's not going to be an instant overnight process. We're not going to be able to just flick a switch. It might take us 220 days for us to rewire our brain. So it won't be an overnight process, but we can definitely get there. And that we need to have that plan of action. That way we can always refer to that plan. That way we're not just making it up as we go along. And as you were explaining that, what came to me was, I've heard it explained in the stock market or in real estate or in any situation where there's that FOMO, that fear of missing out, where it's like, oh, I should have bought this property when it was at this price, or I should have sold that property when it was at that price. And we've all been there in that situation where a number just really messed with our emotions. And I've heard it explained a few times where people say, well, make the plan first, right? If you're going to be flipping that house or buying and selling those stocks or whatever, to make the plan ahead of time. Because if you don't have the plan and you just jump into things and you're letting that emotional roller coaster take you, you're almost guaranteed to make a bad decision. But if you make the plan before you even get into it, and you know what your enter and exit strategy will be, then when you're going through that emotional turmoil, then you can refer back to the plan and you can say, well, am I following the plan, or am I deviating from the plan? And you don't do something out of anger or out of panic. And then what you said, what I think was really helpful there, is to have that outside support system, have that coach, have that mentor, have that mastermind, get that outside advice. That way we're not just stuck in our own thinking. And a common thread that I'm getting from our conversation here today is that any kind of change that we're trying to make here, an easy fix or an easy way to get a jump start on things or change our thinking is with that gratitude list. And that's always one of those things where I hear about it again and again, and I do it sometimes, but probably not as consistently as I should. And I hear about people saying, make that list, or list 3 things every day, or list, that you're happy to be alive and have a roof over your head. And so I'm kind of curious, since just because this gratitude list seems to be an easy course of action for us to take, what sorts of things do you usually put on that gratitude list of yours?
Okay, perfect. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to answer that question, but I want to shine some light of awareness on a couple of great points that you were making. One is that there's a lot more going on that meets the eye. In other words, our brain is a goal-achieving machine. We process like 400 billion bits of information a nanosecond or something. It's just this incredible thing. And if we, but we only perceive a really small portion of it, because we just don't have the bandwidth to perceive that much consciously. And so when we write your goals down, your vision down, and it's based on what would I love, not like, we're figuring it out. We're actually sort of going into this land of, your own intuition, because we're following your own path. And so writing it down is a way that you're essentially like saying something to the universe. Your brain now is like, okay, we're going to try to figure this out. So you've just incorporated a huge amount of brain capacity that you weren't before, because you didn't have a clear plan. It's like just getting clear. They've done research on this. Just getting clear and writing your goal or vision down, you increase your chances of achieving it by 42%. 42%. It's huge. And the other part of that is that why we want to get out of the land of suffering is because when we're in the land of suffering, we are unhooked from creativity, from inspired action. And so the gratitude is the way that you move into a state of, basically a higher frequency, because you feel better. And then you're able to see things. You're able to see things and put things together that you didn't before. Because I say, when I'm in the land of suffering, I basically can't see my way out of a wet paper bag. That's what I call it. I just can't even, I have no friends, no talents. I mean, we've all been there, right? We just want to, not even get up in the morning or make those phone calls and do all the things that business people have to do. And so that's why moving our energy into, just like your walk, you go out and you're walking, and it increases your energy. And gratitude. So I just make a gratitude list every morning, and I just put down, I'm so grateful that I'm alive. It's a gift today. I'm so grateful that I get to be on this podcast and I met Robert. I'm so grateful that I am, get to feel all the emotions that I'm feeling today. I'm grateful for my health. So I have 10 gratitudes that I say every day, and they're different. But that's essentially it gives you some idea, right?
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is that we need to be writing these things down so that way our brain will get to work on solving this problem. And the way that you described that gratitude list, it seems like this is the path for us to get more of that positive mindset, to get more of that abundance mindset, and not just be just a negative, complaining, terrible person, basically, right? We need to write it down and have that gratitude list. So this has been really great stuff, and you've given us a lot to think about. And I want to make sure that we circle back around to that roadmap that you mentioned, because it's one thing to get our heads filled with a lot of ideas. Like, you mentioned that you have all these, like, degrees and college education and things, and there's always that problem, that trap we all fall into of having all the facts and figures, having all the information, but then we need to actually go and implement. We need to take action. That way we get results. That way we're not just filling our heads with more and more facts and figures, right? So you have that website, that youralignedliferoadmap.com. So can you recap that a little bit for us and tell us, most importantly, why we should go to that place right now and not even wait a day or an hour, go there right now while we're still listening. Why the heck should we go to youralignedliferoadmap.com, and what do we get there?
Okay, the first thing I have to say is why you would want to go there is that because you're here, everyone who's listening to this, there is no coincidence. You're here because you have a purpose. And your purpose is going to unfold through the things that you really long for and desire. And I mean, there's no mistake that you have. Every single breakthrough session I've done, everybody has a different vision, and it's awesome. And so you want to get that roadmap, because the first, part of actually achieving it, you're going to achieve it you're going to increase your odds by 42% by just getting clear and writing it down. And if more and more people are actually doing the things that they love to do and that are aligned with who they are and why they're here, the world is going to be a much brighter, better place to be in. So that's why you want to do it.
All right, awesome. So make sure that you go ahead and do it. I mean, imagine if you delayed on this now, if you procrastinated, and then you only circled back around to this in a year or 5 years or 10 years. That would be a lot of time wasted. So why waste that time? Jump on this right now. Get your problem solved right now. Take the first step and go to youralignedliferoadmap.com and claim that gift. And begin to make those positive changes in your life. That way, you're not so down on yourself. That way, you're not so hard on yourself, and you can finally go more towards that path of least resistance, and you can discover the person that you're supposed to be and become your best self and have all those achievements you always wanted when you started. So don't let life get you down. Go to youralignedliferoadmap.com so that way you can get in alignment. That way you can reach your potential and all the other extra amazing things that comes along with that. So anything else to add here, River, as we wrap up and say goodbye?
No, you've done a great job, and I just so appreciate you putting out all this information for your audience so that they can be, the better person that they know that they're out there trying to achieve, supporting especially business owners, because it can get lonely. So thank you so much. I just really enjoy what you're giving people. So thanks, Robert, for being you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for thanking me. I appreciate the compliment. And I mean, for years, I personally ignored a lot of that self-help stuff. I thought it was a lot of, raw, hippie, make you feel good. And that's about it. But then when things got tough, especially in those uncertainties with owning our own business, of setting our own hours, of making those decisions, of dealing with all the fast-paced stuff, I realized I needed help. And then I put my ego aside and I put my skepticism aside, and I looked into some of these self-help techniques that we've talked about today, and I've never looked back. And it doesn't have to be that you throw out all of your current beliefs, or you throw out everything you're doing. You can implement a few tips and strategies. You can gradually work your way up to it. But if you keep on having the same thoughts and taking the same actions, you're going to get the same results you've always gotten. So why not mix things up and go to youralignedliferoadmap.com. Go ahead, do it right now. We'll see you there. And thanks so much, River, for being you and for helping us out today.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day, Robert.
Check out the latest episodes of our podcast on the web at marketeroftheday.com. And subscribe to us on iTunes at marketeroftheday.com/iTunes, or search the phrase Robert Plank in your iTunes app to find us there.